This is Mr. Oliver, and today we're examining a phrase you've probably heard. My money is my money, and his money is my money. The woman who says this believes she's entitled to financial independence while simultaneously entitled to his financial support. Her earnings belong to her. His earnings belong to both of them. And she genuinely believes this is reasonable. Today we're going to examine why this belief is not just unfair. It's a form of ownership over another person's body. And we're going to help you understand exactly what you're agreeing to when you accept this arrangement. Let me start with a question. Do women believe their bodies belong to men? Do they believe men are entitled to use their bodies whenever they want, however they want, for whatever purpose? I'm willing to bet most women would find that question horrifying. Of course my body doesn't belong to anyone else. It's my body. I decide what happens to it. Correct. Your body belongs to you. So let's talk about his money. Because money is not an abstract concept floating in digital space. Money is the physical embodiment of time spent in labor. And labor always requires the application of the body. Whether you're laying bricks or performing surgery or writing code, your labor demands that your body perform specific tasks over a duration of time. Money is the abstraction of bodily labor. It's disembodied work, frozen time, crystallized physical effort. When you understand this, you understand why believing you're entitled to another person's money is believing you're entitled to the labor that produced that money. And since labor always involves the body, you're claiming entitlement to use that body according to your desires. Let me say this as clearly as possible. Anyone who feels entitled to another person's money without providing equivalent value in return is claiming ownership over that person's body for a specific purpose. And there is a word for the belief that one person is entitled to another person's labor without their ongoing consent. That word is slavery. Now, I know that sounds extreme, so let me explain why it's not. Think about what money actually represents. A man works 50 hours this week. His body climbs ladders, carries materials, operates machinery, sits at desks, drives vehicles, performs tasks that require physical presence and effort. At the end of that week, he receives money. That money is not a gift from his employer. It's compensation for his bodily labor. It's his physical effort converted into transferable value. When a woman says his money is her money, what is she actually saying? She's saying his bodily labor this week belongs to her to direct as she sees fit. She's saying the time he spent, the effort he exerted, the physical wear on his body, that all belongs to her now. Not because she contributed equivalent labor, not because they have an explicit agreement about resource sharing, but simply because she believes she's entitled to it by virtue of being in a relationship with him. Let me tell you about a man I know. Worked construction for 30 years. His body is destroyed at 55. Knees shot, back chronic pain, hands barely work. He earned decent money over those decades, saved what he could. Divorced at 52. His ex-wife, who never worked outside the home, got half his retirement, half his disability payments. She's traveling through Europe right now. He can barely walk to his mailbox. His labor literally broke his body. She gets the financial rewards of that broken body. He used his physical capacity to generate resources. She takes those resources while his body remains destroyed. Tell me how that's not a form of slavery. He works, his body degrades, she benefits. And the law enforces this arrangement. Now let's address time, because money is time. But time is also something more fundamental than money. Time is the only truly non-renewable resource you have. You can always make more money. You can never make more time. Every hour you work is an hour of your life converted into currency. When someone feels entitled to that currency, they're feeling entitled to hours of your life. Think about what that means practically. A man works 60 hours this week. That's 60 hours of his finite existence spent generating resources. If half those resources are considered automatically hers by entitlement, she's claiming ownership of 30 hours of his life this week. 30 hours he can never recover. 30 hours he could have spent differently if those resources belonged to him. This is where freedom intersects with money. You've heard of fuck you money. The amount of money that lets you walk away from any situation that doesn't serve you. What happens when someone else controls your money? Your freedom contracts. You might still technically be free to walk away, but the practical consequences make that freedom theoretical rather than real. This is what I want you to understand. When a woman claims entitlement to your money, she's not just claiming money, she's claiming your time, your labor, your physical capacity, and in a very real practical sense, your freedom. Because the less financial autonomy you have, the more control she has over your choices, your movements, your ability to leave if the relationship becomes unacceptable. Now let me address the elephant in the room. What about children? What about the 9 months of pregnancy, the years of child rearing, the genuine physical and temporal investment mothers make? This is a fair point. Bearing and raising children is real work that women disproportionately perform. So let's be clear about what we're discussing. A woman who is actively pregnant or actively raising young children is performing labor. That labor has value. In a healthy partnership, resources get allocated to support that labor. The man works outside the home generating income. The woman works inside the home raising children. Resources are shared to accomplish the joint project of family. That's partnership. That's reciprocal contribution toward a common goal. What we're discussing is different. We're discussing the belief that a woman is entitled to a man's money simply by virtue of being in a relationship with him, regardless of her contribution. We're discussing the woman who works full-time, earns her own income, keeps that income entirely for herself, and simultaneously believes she's entitled to his income for shared expenses. We're discussing the divorced woman who is no longer performing any labor for the family, but believes she's entitled to ongoing payments from his labor. These are not equivalent exchange situations. These are entitlement situations. Let me give you an example. Woman making $80,000 per year. Man making $120,000. She keeps her entire salary for shopping, travel, personal expenses. He pays the mortgage, utilities, cars, groceries, insurance. All shared expenses come from his income. She genuinely believes this is fair because men are supposed to be providers. Let's do the math. She keeps $80,000. He keeps approximately $30,000 after covering everything. She has more disposable income despite earning less. His labor is subsidizing her lifestyle while she contributes nothing to shared expenses. This is not partnership. This is exploitation dressed up as traditional gender roles. And it only works because he's been conditioned to believe providing for her is his obligation regardless of whether she provides for him. Now here's where it gets insidious. The same women who insist on financial independence, my money is mine, will invoke traditional gender roles when it benefits them. His money should be shared because real men provide. This is selective traditionalism. She wants modern independence for herself and traditional obligation for him. She wants to cherry-pick which aspects of modernity and which aspects of tradition apply based on what maximizes her benefit. You want traditional gender roles? Fine. Then he gets traditional male authority, traditional male respect, traditional male decision-making power. You want modern equality? Fine. Then resources are split proportionally, obligations are balanced, and nobody is entitled to anyone else's money. What you don't get to do is demand modern freedom for yourself and traditional obligation from him. That's not equality. That's exploitation. Now let me talk about what this looks like in its most extreme form. Alimony. A divorced man paying $3,000 per month to an ex-wife who works part-time by choice. He works 60 hours weekly, she works 20. He calculated that 40% of his working life is spent generating income for someone who is no longer in his life, no longer contributing to his life, no longer providing anything to him. 40% of his labor belongs to her by legal mandate. That's not metaphorical slavery. That's actual indentured servitude. He cannot quit his job without legal consequences. He cannot reduce his hours without court intervention. He must continue working at that level to fund her lifestyle or face jail time. His labor is not his own. It belongs to her by court order, and this arrangement can last for decades. The justification is that she gave up her career for the marriage. Let's examine that. Did she give up her career, or did she make a choice that she's now being rewarded for while he continues to pay the cost? Marriage was supposed to be a permanent arrangement where both parties contributed and both benefited. She ended that arrangement. But somehow, he continues to be obligated to her while she has zero obligation to him. This is the ultimate expression of the belief that his money is her money. Even after the relationship ends, his labor still belongs to her. Even after she's chosen to leave, his body must still work to support her. The law has codified the principle that male labor exists for female benefit regardless of consent, regardless of reciprocity, regardless of continued relationship. Now, let me be clear about what I'm not saying. I'm not saying women shouldn't work. I'm not saying couples shouldn't share resources. I'm not saying men should be stingy or withholding. Healthy relationships involve mutual support. Partners help each other. Resources get shared toward common goals. What I'm saying is entitlement is different from partnership. A woman who contributes equivalent value and shares resources reciprocally is a partner. A woman who believes your resources belong to her automatically while her resources belong to her exclusively is not a partner. She's an exploiter. And the fact that this exploitation has been normalized, even celebrated, doesn't make it any less exploitative. So what do you do about this? First, recognize the dynamic when it appears. Listen to how she talks about money. Does she discuss our money or my money and your responsibility? Does she expect you to pay for things while she keeps her money? Does she view your income as something she has automatic access to while her income remains solely hers? These are red flags indicating entitlement rather than partnership. Second, establish boundaries early, before marriage, before cohabitation, before financial entanglement. Be explicit. My resources are mine to allocate as I choose. I'm happy to contribute to shared expenses proportionally. I'm happy to support joint projects we both agree on. But I'm not accepting an arrangement where you keep your money and spend mine. If she reacts poorly to that boundary, you've learned something valuable about her character. Third, understand that marriage is the legal mechanism that enforces her entitlement to your resources. I'm not saying never marry. I'm saying understand what you're legally agreeing to. Marriage gives her legal claim to your assets and your future earnings. It gives her the power to force you to continue supporting her, even if the marriage ends. Know what you're signing before you sign it. Fourth, never accept the frame that providing for her is your obligation simply because you're male. Traditional obligation came with traditional authority and respect. If she wants you to be a traditional provider, she needs to be a traditional partner. Otherwise, you're accepting obligation without receiving reciprocal benefit. That's not tradition. That's exploitation. Fifth, watch for selective traditionalism. The woman who invokes traditional male provider roles while rejecting traditional female partner roles is showing you who she is. Believe her. She wants your obligation without her reciprocal obligation. That's an arrangement designed for your exploitation. Sixth, recognize that the transactional nature of relationships is not romantic, but it is real. If you're providing resources and not receiving proportional value in return, you're being used. That value doesn't have to be money. It can be genuine partnership, reciprocal care, shared work toward common goals, but it has to be something. If you're giving and she's taking, that's not a relationship. That's a one-way extraction. Finally, understand that protecting your resources is protecting your freedom. The more money you control, the more freedom you have to make choices, to walk away from bad situations, to live according to your values rather than her demands. Money is not just currency, it's autonomy, it's options. It's the practical ability to live your life on your terms. A woman who wants to restrict your financial autonomy wants to restrict your freedom. She might not frame it that way. She might say it's about partnership or trust or commitment. But what she's actually saying is she wants control over your resources, over your time, over your choices, over you. Don't give that control to anyone who hasn't earned it through years of demonstrated reciprocity. Don't give it to anyone who views your labor as automatically hers. Don't give it to anyone who believes entitlement is the same as partnership. Your labor, your time, your body, your freedom, these belong to you. And anyone who claims otherwise is claiming ownership of you, my money, my choice, your wallet, your decision, your labor, your benefit. This is not selfishness. This is recognizing that your existence has value that belongs to you. And nobody is entitled to that value simply because they're in a relationship with you. Partnership is voluntary, reciprocal, and based on mutual benefit. Anything else is exploitation. Know the difference.